Hello, and welcome back to the Writer Wizard podcast. So, in today's episode, I will be reviewing the final two episodes of season 4 of Stranger Things. Now, this should go without saying, but just in case, if you have not yet watched the final two episodes, or movies, whatever you want to call them, of season 4 of Stranger Things, and you have Netflix or some means of watching this, definitely go check it out before you listen to this. But with that said, there will be some spoilers. I'll do my best not to spoil every little thing, but please do go check this out, because at the end of it, I'll be doing some predictions I have for the fifth and final season. So let's just jump right into it. Alright, so at the end of the previous section of season 4, we left off with 11 finally finding out who number 1 was, freeing number 1. At the same time, Nancy was finding out who Vecna was. Turns out they're one and the same person. And, I mean, honestly, I saw that coming like a mile away. As soon as I started to see him in Eleven's memories, I was like, okay, this is going to be Vecna in his human form. Now, in these final two episodes, we do kind of learn somewhat of his plan. And the thing is, I was talking with somebody I work with who is a big fan of the show, and I don't know if I put this in my predictions before season 4, but I had made predictions that Vecna was going to be serving the Mind Flayer, and that the Mind Flayer was trying to get into our world. Now, it's kind of unclear, but it seems like it's Vecna who's calling the shots, unlike when they said in the first half that Vecna was just like the general for the Mind Flayer. It seems more like he's the one in charge. Now, I find this a little confusing because the Mind Flayer is much bigger and stronger than he should be. And by he, I mean Vecna, or number 1. I'm just going to call him Vecna for consistency's sake. So, when I'm talking about 1 or Howard, whatever his human name was, I'm talking about the same guy. So, um, so anyways, he is apparently controlling the Mind Flayer, but we see at some point, like, he met the Mind Flayer, and the Mind Flayer sort of gave him his powers. So, I'll have predictions about that at the end. The groups, they come up with these plans to go into the Upside Down and face off against Vecna and destroy him once and for all, because they finally realize that he's trying to open multiple gates. Now, this is something I had predicted. I don't know if I predicted it in the episode of my predictions or when I did my review, but I definitely had a feeling like, okay, so they have tried to open up one gate here or one gate there, and it wasn't working. It wasn't big enough and open enough for the Mind Flayer to get through. And that's what I always kept thinking, is that the Mind Flayer wants in our world. It wants to devour, I don't know, all life. It's very similar to my main villain from my book series. the darkness. But the darkness doesn't just feed on life, it feeds on magic, you know. Um, and as long as the light of the world exists, the darkness can't kill our world and suck out all the life because the light is constantly feeding the world with life and energy and magic. But there in this show there is no light for it to overcome and defeat. So now it's trying to get into our world, and I think it's finally here. I did kind of see that. I mean, from the trailer, I wanted to do an episode before this just on predictions, but I decided against it. I was like, oh, I'll just review it after I'm done. So basically, um, there is a person that dies. I don't want to say who. Actually, quite a few people die in these final two. Um, some of which the internet called, some of which they didn't call. Um, I'm not going to say the name. If you want to find out who got it in the end, you just kind of have to watch. But anyways, going back, so the team is each coming up with their own plans. 11 is getting saved by Mike and them. 11's also finishing her training. But it was kind of like an Empire Strikes Back, like, oh, you're not done. You're not ready to go into the fight. And aside from that, there also is this element, which I feel like the writers kind of took from Harry Potter, because there's this whole love versus hate. If you watch this, you'll know exactly what I mean. But, like Vecna is like Voldemort. All he can do is hate. And that's where he draws his power from. Just like the Sith from Star Wars. They draw from hatred and negative emotions. Whereas the good guys, like, 11, her secret power is drawing from love, which is stronger than hate. And so she can overcome the darkness, basically. So she ends up learning that, but much later on. So she's working on, once she's with her boys, and they're in a sort of safe place, she decides she's going to go into the Upside Down mentally to watch over Max and protect Max and let Max lead her to Vecna, or as she calls him, number one, because she doesn't know they're calling him Vecna. Meanwhile, Nancy and the group, they're going to use Max as bait, and Eddie and Dustin are going to draw these bat-like creatures away from where Vecna is, and then when the time is right, Nancy and Robin and Steve are going to go in and basically destroy Vecna's physical body while he's mentally distracted and without guards to protect his body. Now all of this starts going to plan. Of course, the big downside is we finally get some resolution with the crazy jock Christians, which I love that they were a villain, but God, do I hate people like that. It's like, those religious extremists. That is like my biggest fear, is religious extremists. If you ever seen The Mist, that woman in the grocery store that, was blaming, sins and the devil and all that and saying this is God's way of punishing us. I hate people like that so much. It's just like, oh God, do you know how crazy and cringeworthy you sound? And I wish that I really wanted this dude to get shown. I was kind of hoping that they were going to get shown, like, the sister was going to bust into the attic and she was going to tell them, look, I can show you. I will take you. And I thought they were going to go end up helping Dustin and, I can't remember his name. I'm so horrible with names. After I've seen it a bunch more, I'll probably finally remember his name. But the D&D guy, I thought she was going to lead them to the portal and show them, look, through that portal, that is where this guy is. And I thought for sure, because at some point, Nancy, Steve, and Robin, they get into trouble and they're basically pinned to a wall. So I thought for sure, if that was the case, if that's what was going to happen, that it was going to be the main jock who is going to, like, his buddies were going to help out Dustin and them, and then it was going to be the main jock who was going to spring into action and go save them, because if anybody would want to kill Vecna so badly, it would have been him, and he could have helped set, like, I don't know, Steve free or Nancy free, and then they could work together to set the others free. Also thought at some point, too, that it might have been Hopper finally blasting or, getting rid of the Demogorgon and Demodogs in Russia that was going to cause the vines to loosen up. But no, it turns out it's 11, so that's fine, but I just thought something a little bit more would have happened. So anyways, yeah, so they basically fight off Vecna, and during 11's escape, actually, when she's meeting up with the guys, they're attacked, and we never do find out after that attack what actually happened to the doctor. We never saw the military guys again. So that's going to play into, at least I'm hoping that's going to play into the next season. Now that the government's got way bigger fish to fry. So yeah, let's see what else happens. Then once 11 is finally able to help Max, things start going south for Vecna, and he loses his grip on everything. And they do kind of blow him to hell. They kind of burn him alive and, light him on fire, blow him out the window. And then basically after all that, we jump forward like 2 days. And that was kind of getting on my nerves. It's like, something's happening and you want to see the conclusion of it, but then they're like, no, we're going to jump forward. Or we're going to jump over to this scene. It's like, can you stay on the main, what I want to see right now? I want to see the conclusion of what's going on here. I want to see the conclusion of where this is going to go. But no, they kept jumping around, and it was really driving me nuts. So, the last half hour, or the last hour of the last episode, was just all over the place. And I get it, they want to keep the suspense up. But at the same time, it's like, we really want to see what's going on with this. and they did not stay. And it was Eddie Munson. That's the guy who was helping Dustin. So yeah. So basically now the four portals, they open up and they create a giant rip. And that's what I thought. That's what I was telling somebody. I was like, okay, so one giant big rip wasn't big enough for the Mind Flayer to get through. So maybe Vecna was put in charge of making there be multiple portals to where they could just claw and rip their way through into our world, which seems to be what's going on. But there's a slight problem with that, which I'll get into with what they've set up. So, anyways, I know I'm all out of order here. I'm trying to remember all the details. I'm mainly giving you guys the best. What really stuck with me, and that's the big thing when you're a writer. You gotta. It's what the audience is gonna be stuck with. So, anyways, they all have their happy little reunion, and it's been 2 days. We don't find out what happened with Murray. I mean, Joyce and Hopper came home, and I was so glad to see that reunion. But then things start going south, quite literally. They say that snow is falling, but I don't know if it's supposed to be snow or ash, and the ground is dying at a rapid pace. And we start seeing the red lightning. And that's kind of where it leaves off going into season 5. So, my overall thoughts on season 4. It had some brief moments where it was a little slow, but I really did enjoy season 4. I honestly think this is so far the best season. I say every season gets better and better as the show goes on. And if I had to say I didn't like any character aside from bad guy characters who you're supposed to hate, the jocks, I did not like them. The only main character that I really did not like, I mean, he was okay, and I understand he was needed. I just didn't really care for his character though, and that was Argyle, I believe his name was. Um, Jonathan's friend from Surfer Boy Pizza. I mean, he was finally useful in the end with helping Eleven get into the Upside Down, but he was just kind of, until that point, until these last 2 episodes, I just really did not care for his character. He was a little too screamy. Um, he was okay, but he just wasn't that great. Did I enjoy these? Yes, I enjoyed all of season 4. Like I said, every season gets better and better. Although I do not see why they couldn't have split these final 2 episodes into, let's say, 4 episodes. It makes no sense. I think it would have been better play-wise if it was, like, just another 4 episodes. And then, I don't know. That's just my opinion on the matter. But now I'm going to move into my predictions, because at this point, it kind of seems like all hope is lost. It kind of feels like game over, you lost. I mean, even if 11 defeats the main bad, how in the world is she going to close this gigantic, huge X gate? Which is basically what's happened, what is created, a giant X in Hawkins. I don't know if she alone would have the power. I don't know if they're going to try to bring back 8. There was a brief mention of 8 in this episode. Or not in this episode, in this season. I'm actually kind of hoping. I am kind of hoping that Will has powers too and is going to realize it in the next season. Like, he said that ever since he stepped back into Hawkins, that he's felt Vecna. And he's never known what to call him before, but now he has a name. Now he understands a lot more about this entity that has been trying to get at him. So apparently, Vecna's been trying to control Will, trying to use Will as like a human avatar. So I'm kind of hoping that because of that, he's gained some powers. And maybe we're going to learn some other people have powers too. I don't know. But that would be cool. As for season 5, I really don't know a whole lot to expect. There is some stuff I'm really upset with that they did not concretely give us answers to. Like, one character's in a coma at the end, and 11 tries to, like, you can see her trying to go into the person's mind, and then we cut away to her them showing up at Hopper's cabin, and it's like, wait a minute, what happened at the hospital? Why are you just skipping to this? So you kind of think, oh, well, maybe it's all okay. But then when they finally do show what happened, nothing happened. She went into the person's mind and it was completely dark and she screamed out for the person and it's like, hello? I did enjoy Erica a lot more in this season too, by the way. I was so glad she's becoming a main character. I would have liked to see more of Susie. Hopefully, maybe in the final season we'll get more Susie. Poor Dusty needs his girlfriend. Steve. Wow, did Steve get shafted in this season? I think it's either going to be Steve or Jonathan that's going to bite it in the next season. I definitely feel in season 5 we are going to lose a few main characters. Either 1 or 2. But I definitely feel like we'll lose some more. And they're going to be big characters. It's not going to be, I would love to see at the end of the next season, I'd love to see the season end with Hopper and Joyce just getting married and becoming a family. Reeling from their loss, if it's Jonathan, or things going back to somewhat normal. But I would definitely enjoy seeing that. I definitely feel like, so here's my prediction. They're going to go and they're going to face off against Vecna. Everyone's going to, the entire town, I think, is going to be hunting for Vecna. I think Hopper's going to come out and he's going to be like, look, I'm back. We have government support. This has to end. We have to stop it. If you can carry a gun, if you can carry anything, arm up. And he's going to take control of the town. He's going to be like, look, we need to protect this town. We need to stop this here and now. That's how I feel this season's going to go. It's going to be a lot of gathering the town together, building up an army, hunting Vecna, And I think halfway through season 5, Vecna will be killed off. Only to realize Vecna wasn't behind it. So I actually don't think I think the town will fight against Vecna, and the town's gonna kind of lose. Like, it's gonna be losing people, and they're gonna draw back, and then Vecna's gonna go up, and I think he's gonna go to the Mind Flayer and be talking big bad, speeches. And the Mind Flayer, I think, at that point is just gonna be like, okay, I've had enough of you, and kill him and take the fight on himself. Because this has, I think, been his plan. I think it's a devourer of worlds. And that this rift that opened up between the Upside Down and Hawkins is merely how it travels from world to world. And I think Vecna is just a means to an end to help him. Because the Demodogs, or the Demogorgons, they already existed in this place. We see them. And so much more. It already existed before Vecna even showed up. You see him come to the Mind Flayer for the first time, and it takes on that shape, that spider-like shape. But not because of him, because it chose that. So I feel like it's stronger than he is, and I think it's going to turn on him, devour him, and then target the town, target the world. And it's going to be the entire town versus the Mind Flayer, led by 11, and maybe a couple other supers who are going to come out of the woodworks. Like I said, it won't be any of the original kids from this season. If anything, it'll be, like I said, 8, and maybe Will, and maybe we'll discover a couple other people who have powers, maybe like 1 or 2 people that maybe 8's come into contact with, if she's going to bring backup of her own. That's what I would like to see. That's what I'm kind of hoping for, but, I don't think we're going to be leaving Hawkins. We better not leave Hawkins anymore. This started in Hawkins. Let's end it in Hawkins. So, that has been my review for the final 2 episodes in the entire season of season 4. I really enjoyed it. I think it gets better and better as it goes. There are 1 or 2 things I find a little annoying, but I'm okay with it. They find a way to explain it in the end. And one of the things that made season 4 so good for me was the tiebacks to basically the first 3 seasons. We go back to just before season 1 and find out, how this whole thing with 11 started. We go back to previous seasons and discover key points that it turns out this has all been part of one big master plan. So all that is good. All that is perfect. And if they can do that with Stranger Things, then people can't sit there and tell me that it can't be done with other franchises because they didn't plan things out. There are ways you can connect events. I'm, of course, talking about Star Wars, where I've had many arguments with a person I knew that the sequel trilogy sucks because it wasn't planned out. And it doesn't have to be planned out from the word go. This show was not supposed to be 5 seasons long of one long story. The only reason they kept this story going was because the fans wanted more of this world of this storyline. They didn't want it to be a one season sci-fi show of one plot, then switching to a new plot, basically a sci-fi version of American Horror Story, which is what they were going to do originally. But then they changed their minds because the fans wanted more of this. And I think they made the right call listening to the fans. You can never go wrong by listening to the fans of your genre or of your product. They're the ones who know what they want. If I wasn't so far ahead in my books, I would listen to if anybody were to make prediction videos on where my book series was going, I would carefully take people's ideas and theories into consideration because that might help me make it better. So I just want to finish this off by saying I'm going to watch this several times. I might make another video down the road. I don't know yet, so I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you have not, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.